Hey everyone, it's Shane Catchpole here from Into Profits. So today I want to record our search term analysis tool, and this is something we use when auditing, but also something we use on a regular basis to assess how our clients' performance is in their top markets. And that's been the key thing, is how their performance is in their top markets. Because what we see across all of our client accounts is that 20% of the search terms make up 80% of the sales. And that's true all across Amazon. We've seen hundreds of accounts at this point, and usually that holds true, that using the Pareto principle, that usually there's a segment of terms that make up the majority. So what we see a lot of people doing is optimizing for everything as opposed to optimizing for specific markets. So I'm going to go through what we use to review performance, but also plan then for the next sprint, or the next, as we call, monthly rhythm in our ads agency. So let me just open this up and let's have a look what we've got here. So this tool will be in the description, but I'm going to run through it here and give it an overview. So this comes from the search term reports. So in this case, we have a sponsored products one here. We do have a sponsored brands one as well. And we also have a sponsored products plus sponsored brands collator. So you can bring these all together and check your top terms or top targets, no matter the ad type. So let's just open this up and have a look. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download a search term report tool anyway. So in this case, we've got the sponsored products, the search term report tool. So download your sponsored product search term report and then take the data. So there is instructions here as well. However, this will be the latest instructions. Take that data. Now some of this data will be blurred, of course, but take the data from your sponsored product search term report and copy it in here. Again, in this, you're going to see the top column here, or the top row, I should say here. And then you just want to paste the data in below this. Okay, so once you've inputted the raw data, then you can go into, or then what you can do is segment this by, say, product. So we would have nomenclature so that we can look at the group of products, or we can look at individual products. So once you've segmented that using the campaign name here, then you will be able to take the data. So this is like the whole search term report. You want to take all of this. So once I've segmented, then I'll take all of this and copy it. And it's already done, but I will paste it into pivot source again here. So paste it right in here. And that way you can segment further from your total raw data. Okay, so once you've done that, and once you've done pivot source, what you can do is pop in here to the campaigns pivot. Now, the data here might need a refresh. So if you click data at the top, and then if you click refresh all, now this is already updated, but if you click refresh all, it will actually update these columns in the pivot table and make it so that you can see the totals. So in this one, we've got the match type campaigns pivot. What this tells us is in our sponsored products, which match type is performing best, whether that's our auto and our product targets here that are signified with a dash, or if it's broad, or if it's exact, and we can see also the click-through rates for broad. We can see the click-through rate for exact. We can see the sum of conversions. This is the conversion rate for these match types, I should say, as well, and then the overall ACOS. So quite informative here, particularly when you compare this over time, because we would be pulling this monthly usually, although sometimes over a smaller period. So we want to see if we're looking at the ad investment. I always like to look at these things through a portfolio management perspective. As in portfolio management in finance, based on the risk profile of the investor, and it's very different if you are saving for a pension versus if you're just investing. You'll have a certain amount of your investment or your funds, in this case advertising budget, dedicated into your sure things. So sure things on Amazon will be obviously exact match. If you've been selling for a period of time and you know that your exact match, your top terms, then obviously you want to have these set up an exact match. And following that, then you're going to have more discovery or profitability which would be your broads, your phrase, and your auto/product. So we can see the breakdown here in the exact match in this account, which is where we like to see it. You'll see that if I hover over it, it will tell us exactly what percentage. We've 47% exact here. We've got 32 auto and product, and then we have got 21% in broad. So again, depending on your risk profile, depending on your niche, this is how the allocation is done. So that's the match types. We have the target as well. So if I open these up, it's going to show the target. So for example, in this one, I can open this up and it's going to show the campaign name. It's the match type, and then if I press this, it will open up the campaign name. So you'll be able to see which campaigns are contributing. The only difference between this one, again, it's match type again. But when I press these pluses beside the broad and the exact and the auto, it's going to show the target. So it will show the search term, or it will show the product target, or it will show the auto targeting type here. So when you click that, it will open up, and that way you can see exactly which one of your targets is doing well, which is not, and so on. Now the beautiful thing about this collator tool, this might seem simple, but oftentimes, or what I know is complexity is how to fail in business. It was, as I say, simplicity scales and complexity fails. Keeping things stupidly simple, keeping the main thing the main thing. And why am I saying this? Because no matter how you're set up, if you've got broads, exacts, autos, phrases, they all ultimately add up to a generalized conversion rate for that market or for that search term. Now, when you pull search term reports, and what you will see in the raw search term report is that you will see the same search term. So there's obviously, you've got our targets here, and then we've got the search term that the customer purchased through. So the target could be exact, it could be broad, etc. But then it also has the search term that the customer purchased through. In the raw search term report, it's going to show the search term that was purchased through multiple times, because it might have ended up purchasing for blue spatula, but the customer might have purchased through the term blue spatula, but they might have found it in 4 different ways. It might have been spatula set up in broad, it might have been spatula set up in phrase, it might be blue spatula set up in exact. So you're going to see multiple. So the idea behind this is that in the pivot table, we've collated it into one. So while you might have different targets set up, maybe you want to leave on some broad, some phrase, some auto, ultimately it gives a search term performance, a final performance. In Campaign Manager, it shows the targeting only, So unless you have it set up in exact, it's going to show the target only. So if you have broad or phrase or auto, that's not what the eventual purchase is coming through. That's what the target is set up. However, as we know, if we've set up spatula in broad phrase auto, it can then purchase through, let's say blue spatula, let's say spatula large, let's say blue spatula large, different terms. So the insights to me are not as good. So that's why I like to always put this into our search term tool here and see what the breakdown is like here. Obviously, we can see in the all targets here that we can see the ultimate breakdown, whether it's the sum of spend in the markets. We've obviously got the individual search terms here, or we can see the impressions, what's getting the most impressions. Ultimately, the top terms for these products or this product. So basically, making sure we obviously have indexation for those terms, making sure we are optimized for those terms, not just from an ad perspective. Of course, we want to hit it. If we've got top terms there, we want to hit it with sponsored products or sponsored brands or sponsored display. We really want to attack that top market. But oftentimes what needs to come with that, or what needs to come with it, is the content optimization. Because ultimately, each individual search term says something about the buyer. So for example, if you are selling a product that is, let's say you're selling candles, right? So candles throughout the year might be someone purchasing for themselves. However, in Q4 or peak, that would then change from actually candles to a gift product, So you'll see in the top terms, for example, the top terms might be candles, white candles throughout the year, but then in the final quarter, around any of the seasonal gift buying periods, that might change the gift, you know. So there's two different buyer avatars. So when you're thinking of content, what would have worked 5 years, 10 years ago on Amazon is creating generic content to basically appeal to the whole of Amazon. Whereas now, when it gets more competitive, you have to stay 2 or 3 steps ahead of the competition. So if you can be specific in who you're targeting, speak directly to your customer, as far as shaping your content around, let's say, the gift or the candle side, this will make a huge difference, particularly in Q4. So this is what we do, what I would recommend if you want to see a next gear in your products, is being able to niche down enough and speak directly to that customer, while the rest of the losers on Amazon are doing a generic approach and targeting everything. You can get ahead of the competition. Okay, so yeah, look, and then the final one here, what I would do here is I would copy these, because this is in order now by sales. However, sometimes it's not. So if you can copy this, I would just simply copy this, and then I would pop into monthly report. Now this is already done, but you can just paste this here, okay? So this will be here, but then you can just paste here, okay? And once you paste it here, you can organize it by total sales. Let's see your top terms, total spend. Are you getting the bang for your buck? CPC, obviously you want to compare markets, compare each individual search term, see which ones are indeed your top ones. Click-through rate being key. So you're talking obviously your title, we're talking about your main image here. If you can double click-through rate, you can potentially double your traffic. So this is a big one right from the get-go. And being able to see this lined up and see your top markets. For example, we can see the top term here for this setup. Well, what's the click-through rate here? It's 0.43. Then we can see this one here is 1.4. So again, are we speaking, is this image converting better for that market versus not our top market? Is this something we can optimize for? Well, certainly we need to see the data first, and this is what we have in front of us. So opening this up can reveal a lot with some old school statistics. There's no need to reinvent the wheel here. You've got your visibility, getting the visibility, putting your products in front of as many people as possible in a targeted way, getting the click-through rate high, so you actually convert those onto your buyer or onto your page, so onto your listing, and then having what we've got here is a conversion rate to follow that. So having the conversion rate here where you can see that is obviously a no-brainer, and being able to optimize this over time. Again, I will re-emphasize because it's hugely important. Before 5 years, 10 years ago, having generic approach to SEO, to ads, to conversion worked fine because there was less competition. Now you need to stay ahead of the competition. So what works well that we've seen time and time again is being able to drill down and work on conversion rates, work on content, speak exactly to that buyer avatar, speak exactly to your customer in this market. To do that, you first got to know what your top markets are, and this will help you do that. So yeah, conversion rate, again, I don't need to go into conversion rate. Everyone understands intrinsically what that means. Of course, in the most successful accounts, 7% and more, we would really like to see. Anything below that is more difficult because it just doesn't convert simply. And then finally, obviously, ACOS. Now look, we've got ACOS is obviously comes together from the conversion rate, from the click-through rate, and the spend and so on. But ACOS is still obviously a big metric. Being able to know your top terms to optimize for, but then also, as I bring it back to the peak versus on peak or peak versus off peak, in some instances and a lot of accounts we work with, the terms change in Q4. It becomes more of a gift buying proposition. So being able to pull these search term reports and having that data there from last year, making sure you've got these reports set up so that when you're preparing for Q4, you can simply open up last year's search term report tool. By that I mean this, see what the data said, get it set up, get ahead of the competition. If you know your top terms and you're able to really drill into those, let's say on November 1st and getting really set up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that's going to make all the difference. That edge is what we're looking for. That's what keeps it exciting, you know. Competition is inevitable. What does competition say? Competition says that The volume is there so much that it can support more people, you know? So it's like validating the traffic. Now, how do you stay ahead of the competition? And once you've accepted that competition is a natural part of the game, then how do you still win? It's by staying 2 or 3 steps ahead of the competition. So this is one way we do it. I hope this has been helpful. I think that kind of summarizes the whole lot. So without further ado, have a great day.